We are live. Good morning, everyone. It is Saturday, the 11th of September, 2021, and my name is Steve Smith, and I'm here to review last night's AEW Rampage for the 10th of September, 2021. So, last night's AEW Rampage was recorded at Cincinnati's 5th Arena. On this show, we had Pac versus Andrade, which was a interesting match we're going to get to. We had Britt Baker, Rebel, and Jamie Hayter versus Ruby Soho, Riho, and Chris Statlander. And in the main event, we had Max Caster versus Brian Pillman Jr. And we're going to talk about that today. Got to do some housekeeping at the very start of this. For the time being, I will be reviewing AEW Dynamite and AEW Rampage every Thursday and Saturday at 1 p.m. UK time. You can join me here live and tell me what you thought about the shows, or you can watch these later on because it's YouTube and that's how YouTube works, and you can tell us what you thought about the shows in the comments. If you are new to the Wrestle Buddy channel, if you're just discovering us through these videos or any of the Quiz Buddy videos or anything else for that matter, please subscribe. We really need your subscriptions. We cannot do this without the help of wrestling fans worldwide. And whoever you are, chuck us a like, leave us a comment, as that's how the magic YouTube algorithm works. This is how it manages to pick up new content and spread it to the rest of the world, which is what we want to do. We want to help the world of wrestling spread and talk about it, engage. So tell us what you want, engage with us, get in touch, let us know what you thought of the show. If you're watching live, tell me in the chat and I will try to answer if the chat happens. I'm very easily distracted. I've got ADHD. Sometimes I'll start talking to the comments and I'll get distracted. So I will try. So that's the housekeeping done. Just subscribe, like, whatever you... Just do it, just do it. It's free. These are free. And I aim to at least give you an entertaining half an hour of wrestling news, which this morning is all about AEW Rampage. Well, it's not all about AEW Rampage, because first I'm going to talk about the AEW Dynamite ratings for Wednesday night. Let me get my graphic on screen there. Professional. That's what you call professional. This week, Dynamite got an overall 1.319 million viewers with a 0.52 in the Money 1849 demo, beating WWE Raw in that demo for the first time ever, which is hella impressive. This was a huge rise from last week's rating, which only hit a 0.37 in the demo and had an overall 1.04 million viewers. Compared to Raw on Monday night, they had an average 1.849 million viewers, and they hit a 0.52 in the rating. So, they only beat them by... it says here they beat them. I don't know how it works. It's an average. Like, demos are averages. When it comes to the beating, it's in the people who are in that demo, because obviously there's an amount of people in the demo. As you can see on the graphic there, 1849, it just shows that. It shows 0.52. It doesn't actually tell you how many people that is. That's like a percentage. But when you look at the actual numbers, you break them down, AEW Dynamite just a little bit beat WWE Raw. What I would say about this is the tide is most definitely turning in the world of wrestling and how many people watch wrestling and how hot wrestling is, and mainly how hot AEW is. I don't think we're at the point yet where AEW will be beating Raw every single week, but they are at the point where single segments are gaining as many viewers as some hours of Raw have done in the last few months. And yeah, they beat them in the 18 to 49 demo. Now, why is that important? The 18 to 49 demo is like the benchmark demographic used for advertising. That is the most important one that TV channels are looking for. That's the higher the 18 to 49 demographic is, the more money they can make from their show. Hence why that's the most important one. And also, TV's hotter when you've got people of that age group watching. If they're younger, they probably aren't watching that. If they're older, then they don't spend money. This is where the action is in terms of television ratings, so it is very cool that AEW are hitting this sort of number. I think the jump in viewers will have been down to a post all out / post pay-per-view bump, but that does not take away from how important this is. Obviously the fabled pay-per-view bump, as it's called. This is a historic thing it used to always happen to WWE Raw. The Raw episodes of Raw that came after a pay-per-view, especially a big pay-per-view, would always see a jump in ratings for that 1 week. So I expect that the ratings next week for Dynamite will be a little bit lower unless they announce something huge through the week, which they could do. They've got the best roster in wrestling at the moment. They could easily just announce something like that. If they announce someone like Bryan Danielson, I need to stop doing that. If they announce Bryan Danielson's going to be wrestling on the show, which I don't think is going to happen yet, they could blast that rating out of the water. It's through the roof even, not out of the water, through the roof, to the moon. It's interesting. We're in interesting times when it comes to wrestling. Wrestling is hot as hell at the moment. Now, people will argue against this because they say, oh, well, they're not getting as much ratings as they did in the Attitude Era. And that's true, but things are different now. TV is different. The entertainment landscape as a whole is a lot different these days. And the fact is, as we get my ratings up again, AEW Dynamite was the number one show on cable on that night. Most weeks, WWE Raw is the top show on a Monday night, although this week they were beat out because I think NFL football's coming back. I forgot to check it. I should have had that graphic on there as well. I'll do that for next week when we do the comparisons. Interesting times. That's what I'm going to say. And now, on to the show. Before we do that, I've got to remember that if you've not seen the show yet, if you've not seen Rampage yet, spoiler warning. I was ready for that. Spoiler warning. So yeah, on to the show. We started with Pac versus Andrade, and this was a banger of a match. An absolute banger. They gave this match a real big match feel. It had in-ring introductions at the start of the show. We didn't get to see their entrances. It just cut to the in-ring introductions, but they got an in-ring introduction as like a title match would. They were both in the ring. The announcer announced them, and it really gave the whole thing a big match feel. You know, it felt like a big match. And I know there's been talk that Andrade is maybe not happy about being on Rampage, but the fact is, Rampage is, while it's a shorter show, they always have one really big match on the show. And it's followed by little matches. And this was no different to that. This kept that trend up. It had the big match feel. Started with a big stare down. It could have easily been a title match. And it was really good. It was really, really good. This is the Andrade we've been waiting to see. You know, this is the match. I mean, you could say that no one's going to have a bad match with Pac, and that is probably true, but this was just awesome. The match started, and it looked like it was going to be like a heel versus heel affair, although Andrade was playing the role of the protagonist. He was not the good guy, but he was the protagonist. You know, he was subtly playing the good guy in this match. The story of the match was nice and simple. It was two guys fighting to see who was the better man. As I've said many times, this is all wrestling needs to be. Wrestling is a competition between two people, sometimes more, to see who is better, either for a title match or just for that notch in the win-loss column to say, I'm better, I need to work my way to a title. Whatever, I'm rambling on that, but this is exactly what this match is. It was just a competition between two guys who don't like each other, who wanted to see who was the better man. This match was great. Right off the bat, I'll just say that this is, like I said, this is the Andrade match we have all been waiting for. He was amazing in this match. Pac was awesome, as he literally always is. It just all came together into a really, really nice match. I'm not going to talk about every single bit of the match. I mean, being the Rampage stream/review, I could actually go into a bit more depth, and I might do that later on as we go down the line. I should have woke up earlier and watched this earlier. I've slept in quite a bit. Gin on a Friday night and is a thing. Dynamite is on in the UK. I mean, I watched Dynamite on Fight, so on like the Fight Plus thing. So I watched Dynamite on a Thursday, but it airs in the UK at midnight on a Friday night, or midnight Saturday morning, whatever way you want to term it. And I will often sit and watch it with a gin because it's it's a bit more entertaining if you're drunk, you know? Simple as that. So I was watching that. I need to maybe stop doing that. Andrade hit some awesome stuff in this match. One of the, like, there was this spot in the match. Andrade hit a spinning splash to the outside. He was like, Pac was on the outside of the ring. Andrade jumps up to the top rope and he jumps out. Then he's going for the body splash, but he like delayed the spin. Like, this blew my mind. I have no idea how he did it, how this was even physically possible. As he jumped into the air, flat body, like horizontal, and then like a second into his jump, he then started spinning. Like I don't know what it's called. There's a lucha name for it, and I've totally blanked on it. But he started spinning. He posted off nothing. He was flying in midair and just managed to go into this amazing spin. I don't understand how this was even possible. It absolutely blew me away. There was another great spot in the match where Andrade got Pac in a tree of woe, but it wasn't in the corner. It was on the outside of the corner. So like Pac's hanging out on the outside of the ring. And Andrade gave him the double foot stomp to the outside. It's like Pac's hanging there. Pure. Andrade falls through him right to the mats on the outside, which looked like he took quite a hard bump on that. It was really cool. Later on in the match, Andrade went for this spot again, but Pac managed to sit up, sit up and countered it and avoided it, which was a nice touch. Like I said, this was a good match. The crowd were hot as hell for this match, like really hot for it. There were a lot of like, this is awesome chants, fight forever chants, and rightfully so. At some points it felt like they were going to fight forever. It really was good. This, in my opinion, was the main event to the show. Now, they've done this, so they do this on Rampage quite a lot, where like the big main event match goes first, and people may question why it's first on the card and not last, but in all honesty, I think it's best that they put these matches on the start of the show, because they only have they've got 45 minutes, and then there's the adverts that make up the hour. They've only got like 45 minutes in this show, right? And if they put these big matches at the end, then they're always going to be pushed to time. By putting them at the start, they are not pushed for time, and these matches get the time they really need to shine. And it's really good. And not only that, there was the main event match, which I'm going to obviously talk about, sent people home happy. And there was a reason for that match being last on the card and not first. So it all worked well. Some of the more notable spots in the match were obviously the foot stomp. There was Andrade also hit a really sweet, like, snapping, split-legged springboard moonsault. Man, that was a mouthful and a half. Pac hit a springboard 450 literally off the top rope. I'm not talking about standing on the turnbuckle. He went to the top rope, edged along a little bit, so he was standing on the rope, then hit a 450 splash. He also hit one of the sweetest moonsaults I have ever seen to the outside on Andrade. Really, really cool. He hit himself on the barrier at the time. He got a big bruise on his back from it. Great. I can't say enough good things about this match. The finish to this match came when Pac managed to lock the Brutalizer in on Andrade. In the middle of the ring, it looked like Andrade was going to tap. I thought this was going to be the end of the match. I thought Pac was going to win. Now, what happened here is Andrade's butler / PA, I don't know what he is, but the guy that's in his crew, he jumped up onto the apron and he had like a taser, and it's like making all sorts of electric tasery noises. And this distracted referee Bryce Rensburg, which allowed Chavo to jump into the ring, and he clocked Pac with his iPad. I thought it was a book, but it's an iPad, which is quite funny because when you think about it, I mean, an iPad to the head would hurt. I don't think it would lead to you being knocked out. It's hard to knock someone out with an iPad. They're pretty flimsy, you know. Regardless, though, he hit Pac in the head with it. Andrade managed to roll Pac over, got the pin and the win. Post-match, the Lucha Brothers ran out to help Pac, and obviously to chase away the Butler and Chavo, which they did. While Chavo and Andrade were walking up the ramp and out, Andrade turned on Chavo. It seems he was not happy about Chavo helping him cheat to win. He didn't want to cheat to win. Like I said, the underlying theme of this story was that Andrade was the protagonist. He wasn't necessarily a bad guy. He wanted to have a good match. He wanted to prove himself. And he wasn't happy that Chavo cheated, so he kicked him, knocked him out. This led to the Lucha Brothers giving Chavo a double super kick on the outside. They rolled him into the ring. Pac stretched him with the brutalizer. Yay! Andrade went away on his own, well, with his PA. He didn't do anything to the PA guy. I don't really know what he's doing. But they walked out alone, left Chavo there. It looks like the relationship between Chavo and Andrade is over, which, to be honest, if it is over, I'm kind of happy with that. I don't think Chavo has done anything for Andrade's character other than be a mouthpiece. Great match. Really fun stuff. Love this match. This, like I've said twice already in this match, this was the Andrade we have been waiting for. This is the match that we remember Andrade from being on NXT. Some of the really good matches he put in on there, and this was it. This was he turned it on here. It was really on. It will also be really interesting to see what Andrade does next, because they teased a subtle face turn here. He's going to... I don't think he was really a bad guy in this match at any point, but they're teasing that he's breaking with Chavo. Is it symbolic or not? I don't know. I mean, this could lead to a multitude of different things. He could join Death Triangle. He could have earned Pac's respect. Pac may have earned his respect. Maybe, and we already know he thought he'd be better with the Death Triangle, with the Lucha Brothers. Could it lead to them creating a bigger faction? The Death Square, maybe? I don't know. Or, what is most likely here is that this will be the way of bringing Ric Flair in to manage Andrade. Because we already know that when in his match at AAA against Kenny Omega, Andrade had Ric Flair at ringside. He was like his manager. So I think this is going to be AEW's way of getting rid of Chavo, creating that space next to Andrade, and bringing Ric Flair in, who's obviously his father-in-law. So there's that family connection there as well. We know that Ric loves Andrade, and Ric Flair is awesome at promos. He can talk forever. So if anyone's going to talk for Andrade, if it's Ric Flair, that is a good thing. That's a really good thing. I know that AEW don't do rematches much, but I expect a rematch from this, because it was finished in a way that Andrade didn't want finished. It finished with Chavo getting involved. And if there is a rematch, I feel it would be awesome. Maybe on a pay-per-view or Arthur Ashe or one of these big shows coming up. I mean, there's so many matches at the moment and connections that people are like, oh, that would be good on Arthur Ashe. But they can't have every match. So it would be good to see where it comes down the line. I expect a rematch. Fingers crossed we get the rematch, because I imagine it would be awesome. Next up on the show, Darby and Sting came to the ring to answer Tully Blanchard's promo against them on Dynamite. Darby was the one that spoke first. He picked up the mic. He straight up called Spears a generic POS, a piece of shh. And then he said that without Tully, he is absolutely nothing. Sting then took the mic. He did a big whoo, which people popped for. People loved it. Sting's awesome, you know. He's an absolute legend, and he's calling out Tully. He's speaking against Tully. And they called Tully out, and Tully came out to the stage. So at this point, Tully started cutting a promo on Sting. While he had Sting's attention, Sean Spears came out of the crowd quietly. He managed to pull Darby's legs out, pull him to outside the ring, gave him a Death Valley driver on the outside, then legged it. Then Tully's like, ha ha ha, y'all fell for our plan. Ha ha ha. It was a really nice... I liked what they did. I liked that they distracted Sting, and then they just slyly took him out and beat him up. It made sense. You know, it was dastardly. I like what they did here. It looks like we're edging towards a Darby and Sting versus Sean Spears and Tully Blanchard match in the future. And why not? Sting can still go. I don't know how good a wrestler Tully is these days. We've seen him in a match before where he was hitting pile drivers and helping FDR, so it could be good. I mean, it'll give Sean Spears something to do. Sean Spears has been with AEW since the start, but really, I don't think he's had any really notable big matches yet. He had that really, really good match with Sammy Guevara a few months ago, but other than that, he's been in like the Stadium Stampedes. There's been nothing really big, so it'd be good to see him getting more of a rub here, getting more traction going, you know. It was good, why not? It was entertaining. Next up, we had some a quick promo video that featured Adam Cole and Bryan Danielson. So very briefly, this started with Adam Cole. He says he trusts Kenny and the Bucks with his life, and they trust him. He promises that he is not yet in his prime, and I agree with that. Like, I have always said that wrestlers don't really hit their prime, so to speak, until they're in like their late 30s, early 40s. I'm not saying that people younger are not as good. There are some wrestlers that are just amazing. You know what I mean? You look at some of the wrestlers on the roster just now, Darby, Sammy Guevara, who I've already mentioned. The list could go on forever, but when wrestlers get to that late 30s, early 40s stage, if they've been wrestling, they've probably been wrestling around 15, 20 years by that point, and by that point, they just know. They don't think about it, and they know how to make things work. So when he says he's still in his prime, I absolutely agree with that. His prime is yet to come. He's only, I think, 30 or something like that. There was shots fired towards Danielson and Christian in this promo, which was interesting, and we'll get to that in a sec. We then got to the Bryan Danielson part of the video. He says that, by the way, the Elite are dressed, they look insecure. It's like, fair enough. He says he only wants to go after Kenny Omega. He wants Kenny Omega to be his first match. Bryan Danielson is going, he wants the AEW title, but he wants that dream match with Kenny Omega. And you know what? That'd be awesome. I would love to see that. Bryan Danielson is here, and he is game. Hype. I am hyped by this. I mean, by the sounds of the way they were talking, mainly with the way Adam Cole was talking about Christian, it sounds, and the fact that he says that the Elite trust him, that we're talking about the Elite as a whole, which mainly that the four guys, which is Cole, the Bucks, and Omega, it sounds like they're edging towards a feud between Elite, Bryan, Christian, and I imagine the Jurassic Express, because they're the hot team at the moment. They've been feuding with that Elite, and it would make sense for the two four-man team to go at each other. Now, I don't know, maybe this would be a good way to introduce Daniel Bryan in his first match, to start teasing towards the Kenny Omega Bryan match without having them going face-to-face singly before the match. I'll be interested to see where this goes. Next up, we had a trios match. It was Britt Baker, DMD, Rebel, not Reba, and Jamie Hayter versus Ruby Soho, Riho, and Chris Statlander. This was just kind of there. It wasn't an amazing match, but it was okay. It was entertaining. The match started with Riho and Britt, which was a bit clunky. I don't know what was happening, a bit of a miscommunication between the two. Quickly, Riho tagged out. There was really not that much to this match. It was just kind of there. The best spot in the match, in my opinion, was really funny. Statlander, hooked onto Riho's arms and had Riho leaning on her back. And then she did, this Liu Kang bicycle kick, ba 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 ba, to Reba, who's selling it, I thought it was quite funny. It was nice. I laughed. Not at pro wrestling, but I laughed. Like the match in Dynamite, Jamie Hayter looked solid in this match. She was absolutely the best wrestler in this match. She is so smooth. She never hesitates or second guesses anything. Nothing seems to phase her in these matches. And she works, in my opinion, she works better than most of the roster, whether they're male, female. She just is really, really freaking good. She is one to watch. I would like to see her split away from Britt and then go for the title herself, because I think her as champion would be awesome. I think they've got something special there if they do it right. The finish to this match came when Ruby Solo hit a kick on Rebel for the pin, and that was that. It was nothing really special. There was a few fun spots in it. It was an okay match. Like I said, it was a little clunky at the start, but it was okay, nice and entertaining. And then we got to the main event. It was Max Caster versus Brian Pillman Jr. Before the match, we got the Mark Henry promo segment. As expected, Caster was great. He's always great on the mic. Pillman was really good too. It was the wise ass versus the fiery hometown babyface. Pillman's gear in this match was an awesome nod to his late father, Brian Pillman. As I mentioned, this was in Cincinnati. This was his and his father's hometown. It was where Brian Pillman Sr. played for the NFL team, the Cincinnati Bengals, and Pillman's Aunt Linda and sister were at ringside. The best bit of this match, other than the finish in the post-match, was probably Caster's rap. He destroyed Cincinnati. He went to swear at one point, but Bowen stopped him and was like, "Whoa, you're on the next." Nice touch. I liked it. It was a decent match. Nothing amazingly special, but it was good. In reality, this would have been like a really good main event on Dark, but I understand why this was the main event for this match. This was about giving the audience a win for their hometown hero, giving a giant nod to Brian Pillman, who is a legend from Cincinnati. And it was just to send people home happy. It was to make people happy, and this is what wrestling should do. And this is why I like AEW more than WWE at this point. Bowen's got involved in this match a lot. There was a lot of interference by him, which teased what happened at the post-match. Pillman Jr. got the win after hitting his dad's old finish on Caster, the fly-in Brian springboard clothesline. Post-match, Caster and Bowens beat on Pillman Jr. The crowd started chanting for Moxley, and that is exactly what they got. Of course, Moxley is the other man from Cincinnati here. John made the save and then celebrated the end of a fun show with Pillman Jr. in the ring. They were hugging. The crowd were sent home happy, and the crowd were very happy. They got what they wanted, and they were grateful for it. It's like I said, this is not rocket science. The purpose of entertainment is to entertain people. You entertain people by putting smiles on their faces, not by making them angry about stuff. I don't understand why WWE can't see this, but I'm happy that Tony Khan and the rest of AEW see this. They want to make people happy. It was a fun show. The first match, as I said, was the start of the show. I'm interested to see where it goes, if we get a rematch, if Flair's going to come out, what's going to happen with Andrade, and the Andrade-Pac dynamic, because that's quite interesting. Like I said, I think this is going to be how they introduce Flair into AEW. That's what makes the most sense. That makes it seems to write itself. But that said, what did you point to the camera? What did you think about this week's Rampage? I want you to tell me, whether it's in the chat. I had the chat closed there. There's no one in the chat. We're really new here. The WrestleBuddy channel is quite new. We don't have a lot of subscribers that actually watch wrestling. So we need the subscribers. We need to get people. We need to do all that sort of stuff. So if you're watching this, remember and hit like, subscribe to the channel. Tell me in the comments what you thought about this week's AEW Rampage. I will be back on Thursday at 1 p.m. UK time. That'll be 9 o'clock in the morning Eastern time, or 7, like 6 in the morning if you're on the American West Coast. I know it's early. It's quite early, but you can watch me on your phone as you're walking to work or something. Hey, why not? I'll be back. Make sure you subscribe and like all our videos on the channel. Recently, they've uploaded a few new episodes of Quiz Buddies, which is the Wrestle Buddies quiz show. There are some great episodes on that. I am El Champo. Well, I'm the spiritual champion of it. I had the high score, but then it got beat by Andy, who is also my tag team partner in the tag team tournament that's happening just now on Quiz Buddies. There's also a guest episode. There's like a special episode of Quiz Buddies with wrestlers in it. It's got Shazza McKenzie, Ricardo Rodriguez, Danny Limelight's on it. Watch it. Go watch it. The channel's got loads of good stuff, and of course, this is where you come to watch me talk about AEW. So, I'll catch you all later. For me,